gamers, and welcome back to LA Noire. This is our second video on the game. So if I did the vagaries in the first one and recommended it, it's super thumbs up. In fact, the game just got even better as we got going on. So now I'm going to be a little bit more into the story. For those of you who've already played it or are not going to in the near future, or don't mind being spoiled. So just bear that in mind. That's where we're going today. All right, let's get into this. So there's a few things going on, but this, I want to talk about being the homicide detective. This is after you do traffic, which was really intense. I'm going to talk about some things here that it might get this demonetized on YouTube or whatever. So I'll dance around the subject, although God knows with their AI algorithms and Gemini might figure out what I'm talking about. Traffic is the first job you get after being a beat cop, which is the tutorial. And it's really, really dark. I was very surprised by this. One of the most notorious cases we did really dug into the underbelly and horror that is Hollywood. Even today, that's what really struck a chord, I think, with a lot of people, is even within the last decade, we've had reports of this kind of thing going on. And the story evolved around a car that was dumped off a ledge that contained a kind of older actress who had some fame in Hollywood and her young niece, around 15 years old. They didn't die. They were supposed to die, but they didn't die. They survived the crash. And what we find out is that this girl, the young girl, is a runaway. We find a letter from her mother saying, please come back. Like, we want you to come home. We'll love you, blah, blah, blah. But she's obviously chasing the stars and the bright shininess of Hollywood, aided by her auntie, the more famous actress who's obviously like, I'll get you a job. I'll do this and this. And what she's actually doing is sort of selling her body, young niece's body, to movie producers for the obvious. And she's on board with this because that's how Hollywood works. Deal with it. Like, one of the more common themes that comes up certainly around this time is one thing they've captured is the difference in culture. Certainly after the war, and dealing with older people who have been alive since like the 1900s. We're talking about a very, very different culture than what we have certainly today for the most part. It's not perfect, as we all know, but hyper different about what is socially acceptable and the way things are. And there's a few examples of this coming up. This story really was just gross, like really gross and really grim, and really set the tone. In many ways, for the Dark Souls effect that I've brought up a lot, is if you get past this, then you're in. Then you're in. Because you find out that she gets farmed out, essentially, to these movie producers where they take advantage of her and they film it all, and they have secret filming rooms where they're recording movies of what they're doing to these girls. They're filming them going to the bathroom. They're filming them when they're doing their advantage-taking activities, and then probably passing that around Hollywood as well, saying, this girl is, look out, yeah, she's a goer, that kind of thing. And then other movie companies are bringing her up. We'll give her a part in a movie, blah, 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 which she never seems to get. And the really sad thing about this is not just the grossness of the storyline. It's when you speak to the girl and she still is kind of okay with it, because that's how it works, and she still might have a chance at being in the movies and reaching stardom. That's the bit that really twists the knife, is after you speak to her and this horrible things have happened to her and someone's tried to kill her, is at the end of it she's still like, I don't want to do anything about this because I still might have a chance, like holding on to that glimmer of hope. And that sets the scene for where you're going, which is to Homicide. Now, Homicide is really cool from a game perspective because we now have a potential serial killer. We're solving a number of crimes that have very similar themes, and we're paired up with Rusty. Rusty is old school. Rusty is old school, and he's not particularly good at his job. He's jaded, he's bitter. He's obviously been a part of war at some point, and he has been in this role for a long time, and he's just a big piece of crap is what he is. I mean, he's funny, he's a jokester, but there's a point where we're dealing with a murdered woman, and he always thinks it's the husband or the boyfriend or whatever. And even if it's not, he wants to pin it on them anyway. because it'll just get it done, tidy. He can file the paperwork and he can move on to the next case. So if every time there's a murdered woman, which every single homicide case we've done so far is about women being abused. It's a very common theme of the game, which fits the culture of the time. And he just instantly is like, we'll pin it on whoever. Certainly if he finds someone along the course of the case who is, in his mind, worse. There's a couple of lines which I think signify Rusty. One, he's been married 3 times, and when it comes to a woman getting beaten and murdered, he has thoughts like, if you just beaten her earlier, this is basically verbatim from the game, by the way. If the husband had just like corrected her behavior earlier, she wouldn't have ended up in this situation. So it's kind of her fault and his fault. He should have given her a slap much earlier on in their relationship to gain control of her, to correct her behavior like a dog. And then she wouldn't have ended up like this, right? That's his thought process. However, later we run into a child abuser and also a necrophiliac. Yeah. And he's quite open. And the problem, I don't know the name of the actor. I wish I got it, who plays the child molester. It is easily, so far in the game, the creepiest performance of anybody so far. Like, talk about nailed it. When it comes to certain characters throughout this gameplay, you can kind of tell when they're lying and stuff. Like, the acting is a little bit more over the top because it's a video game, so they give very sort of clearish clues that they're hiding something or whatever, and your job as the gameplay, you know, as the gamer, is to figure out, are they just lying or have we got evidence to back this up? But you know it's one of the two. The guy who played the child molester is so slimy and subtle and brutally honest about what he does. Like, there's no qualms that he likes young girls. Like, he's very open about it. He's very straight up with it, which means he kind of comes across like he's telling the truth all the time because he's not holding anything back. And you can get 5 out of 5 questions correct with some people. And with him, I got like 1 or 2 because it was just impossible to tell this slimy, disgusting person what's going on. And then Rusty comes in a rare occasion where you side with Rusty. He's like, I don't really care if the husband, he'll say, I think the husband killed her. But she's already dead, and he's probably not going to kill again, right? But we should pin this on the child guy because he's way worse and get him the death penalty or sent down or whatever. And you're like, I kind of see where you're coming from. Because the laws are different. And similar with the necrophiliac is he finds the dead body and puts lipstick on her and starts kissing her and all this kind of stuff, the dead body. He knows she's dead. And he's open with it. He's like, there's no law against it. I can do this. This is fine. And everyone's like, dude, what? And it's a similar case where it's like, we kind of just want to pin the murder on this guy because he's a freak and we need to get him off the streets. I was saying, like, for me, there's no law against it. And you can imagine the lawmakers going, no, we don't have a law against this because we just really shouldn't have to. Right? We shouldn't have to have this on the books. It's like, yo, don't do this. But people do these things, unfortunately. But the overarching story is really fantastic, is that there are similarities and slight differences between a lot of the murders. I think we've done like 6 so far. And your captain, our Irish evangelical paladin of justice, who seeks righteous fire at all occasions, he wants convictions. He wants convictions, particularly similar to Rusty. They have a very similar mindset of who he believes is just the worst of the two. Because what you end up with in this part of the game is 2 potential suspects. And it's typically the husband and somebody else who was involved in some way, shape, or form. And he wants convictions, particularly against the people he doesn't like. So it'd be like the child molester or something like that. It's like, I don't care if the husband did it. I want this guy sent down, murdered, beat, whatever. And will actively get angry with you if you, by evidence, convict it to the person you think is the right person. Here's the weird thing, though. When you're dealing with a serial killer who is taunting you, he's sending letters and all those kinds of things, you kind of know as the player, it's none of these people. But sometimes it is, because there are copycats and there are people. So strangulation is a big feature of what the serial killer does, but he also does things like leave messages on the bodies, he leaves them stripped and all this kind of stuff. So you'll find somebody who's also strangled and maybe has a message or not, but is clothed. So it's like, it's not quite that guy, but he maybe got disturbed while he was doing something, right? Because he has to dress and pose the bodies in certain ways. And things can interfere with that. Like, one girl didn't have her lipstick with her, which is what he writes the messages on. She'd left her purse at home. So maybe he got frustrated doing that. Deciphering which one is maybe part of the serial killer mantra and who isn't is really interesting and really fun, because it puts you as the player in a situation of, I don't think either of these guys did it, but you do have to convict somebody because the game makes you. You can't go, it's none of these, it's the serial killer, which is now leading on to the story of cases we solved a while back. Maybe were wrongfully convicted. And we're now dealing with that potential because we've sent people to prison. The DA has approved it, and now these guys are going to trial and potentially to death row. Yet now we kind of have evidence that they didn't do it at all. But we don't want to tell anybody yet because that's going to make the department look bad. And you're dealing with all these different levels and intricacies of this happening all the time. And god damn, it's fun. It's really fun because you're second guessing yourself all the time. You're like, oh, I don't think he did it. But then sometimes they did. We got a confession out of one guy, and I was like, this is very similar to the serial killer. But, I think it's called the werewolf. But the guy actually confessed that he did do it. And you're like, Christ, I was, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking these guys didn't do it, and they did. Especially dealing with the war veterans. There's one particularly homeless guy who was part of the flamethrower division, so he's all disfigured. And clearly he was very much involved with a lady who got murdered, but you can't really prove it, and he's very open about it. He's very open about it. Like, I don't even live anywhere, so you can't say it was at my house. Or, yes, I have this rope, but it could have come from anywhere. I live in a homeless town. I had her purse. And I don't know. I found it. And you're like, yeah, maybe you did. I don't know. I can't prove it. I cannot prove it. And you kind of have to let these guys somewhat walk and move away. Another theme that's playing into this now is communism. Is the hatred that a lot of the people have for communism. And they've done a really interesting choice with our protagonist, Mr. Phelps, is that he has, even though he fought in the war and he fought the Japanese, he has a respect for why the war is, he understands why the war is occurring, rather than just wars, you know, the soldiers going out because, you know, got told to go out there. And they're talking about Pearl Harbor. It's like, we're here because they attacked Pearl Harbor, so they must all die. And Phelps is like, do you know why they attacked Pearl Harbor? And he goes into, like, the political situation that led to them attacking Pearl Harbor. And the soldiers don't care. They're just there to kill the Japanese. That's the job, you know? And him having that different perspective isn't just like, yeah, we just need to take down all the commies and do this. Like, they all should die. And playing into that has worked out really, really well. And so far, I think we're about to find out who, and now we've got a great game of whodunit going on, right? Particularly with my live audience of like, have we seen who the killer is? Have we encountered them? And there are many good theories. One of them is like, it's Rusty, although I don't think Rusty is smart enough to pull this off. But the captain, I could see doing this because he's got the crime reports on a lot of people, because the people who end up being these ancillary characters and the people he wants to pin it on have criminal history that he finds particularly repulsive, and he does get angry. So I could see it being the captain, or maybe it's the old lady that we met in the halfway house along the way and things like that. Needless to say, I'm looking forward to finding out who it is and getting into it. But once again, how else could I not say it? Like, if you've not played this and you have the stomach for it, because it's pretty full on sometimes. Yeah, check it out. So I'll check in with you tomorrow. Who is the killer? My money's on the captain. I think it's the captain. I think the captain has researched and set up things in order to have a scapegoat in the husband's boyfriends or whatever, but it's also involving this guy over here, and he would much prefer it if you use this murder to bring down this, what he sees as the evil and corrupt, and the heretics that are plaguing society, and they'll clean up the streets. He's very, very theatrical with what he says. Really fun. All right, so that's LA Noire Day 2. God, I hope this game doesn't end quickly. I'll be back soon. Bye, guys.